Due to mature subject matter, viewer discretion is advised.
Oh là 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 là. Tirez plus fort, plus fort. Alors. Du calme.
They lie so much. My church, my religion lies so much, and it's proven in this grand jury report.
Survivors of alleged sexual abuse by Catholic priests are speaking out after a grand jury report exposes what could be the biggest cover-up in the church's history.
A trove of documents containing allegations and admissions of sexual abuse was kept locked up in what the church calls its secret archives, with the only key in the bishop's hands.
The cover-up made it impossible to achieve justice for the victims.
Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro laid out a pattern of consistent, decades-long cover-up across the 6 dioceses. The files contained strategies that were practically a playbook for concealing the truth. Among the tactics for church record-keeping, use euphemisms, never say rape, say inappropriate contact or boundary issues. Even if a priest is raping children, keep providing housing and living expenses. Above all, don't tell the police. Handle it like a personnel matter in-house. As church officials protected predator priests, careers continued to rise.
Many have been promoted. Bishop Wuerl is now Cardinal Wuerl.
Washington, D.C. Archbishop Cardinal Donald Wuerl presided over 32 accused priests during his 18 years at the Pittsburgh Diocese. He sat down with us the night before the report's release.
During my tenure, we acted very appropriately with many times removal from ministry totally and completely.
But according to the grand jury, in 1991, Wuerl reassigned an accused priest, Ernest Payon, to the Reno Diocese. In 1995, he returned George Zerwas, a member of a pedophile ring, to ministry.
Victims filed a lawsuit against you and a few others, saying you were conspiring to cover up the abuse. Any truth to that during your time in Pennsylvania?
I would have to say that's just totally false.
For the victims here today, Pennsylvania's statute of limitations makes their cases too old to be prosecuted.
Wouldn't elimination of the statute of limitations be justice for the victims?
There should be no statute of limitations to bring criminal charges in Pennsylvania when it comes to child sexual abuse.
The majority of the named priests are dead. Still, as a result of the investigation, 2 priests have been criminally charged, including one who has pled guilty.
This is the priest you say abused you.
Yes.
Sean Doherty was molested by his family priest for 2 years, beginning at age 10.
Is this report enough vindication, or are you fighting to change laws?
This report is just the beginning battle of the overall war.
It's about the hierarchy who aided and abetted these known perpetrators, who protected the institution, the assets, the reputation versus its own children.
We're very concerned that consumers are eating more glyphosate than they know.
Scott Faber has been working to improve food safety standards for more than a decade. He says the team at the Nonprofit Environmental Working Group, or EWG, had a lab test 45 samples of products made with conventionally grown oats and found glyphosate, the active ingredient in the Monsanto weed killer Roundup, in all but 2.
I was shocked.
Dr. Jennifer Lowry heads the Council on Environmental Health for the American Academy of Pediatrics.
We don't know a lot about the effects of glyphosate on children, and essentially we're just throwing it at them.
EWG used its own, more stringent standards to conclude that products with excessive levels of the herbicide included Quaker Old-Fashioned Oats, Cheerios, Quaker Dinosaur Egg Instant Oats, Great Value Instant Oats, and Back to Nature Classic Granola Clusters. Glyphosate was even found in a few organic products. The World Health Organization says glyphosate is a probable carcinogen. The state of California lists it as a chemical known to the state to cause cancer. Monsanto disputes that, saying in a statement glyphosate does not cause cancer and has a more than 40-year history of safe use.
Did Monsanto fail to adequately warn of the potential risks? Answer, yes.
But last week, a jury in California ordered Monsanto to pay one man $289 million in damages after he claimed the company's glyphosate weed killers caused his cancer. And EWG's Faber is skeptical of EPA's glyphosate limits.
We don't think it does enough in particular to protect children.
It is time now for them to step up and do their jobs to ban glyphosate.
Zen Honeycutt heads Moms Across America, a group formed to raise awareness about toxic exposures. Her family switched to an organic-only diet after her 3 sons developed allergies and other health problems.
We want to trust that what is in the grocery store is safe. And the shocking reality is that in many cases it's not.
This 87-year-old grandmother who doesn't speak English and needs help getting upstairs is charged this morning with criminal trespass and obstruction of an officer.
She's outside. There's no kids around her. She told me she doesn't speak English and keeps walking up our trail with a knife.
A worker at a Boys and Girls Club in Chatsworth, Georgia, called police Monday after seeing her walking with a knife in a field on their property. It turns out she lives across the street and is from Syria. It was a steak knife, and she was there picking dandelions, which her family explains was meant for a salad for her husband. Police say she even had a bag full of cut weeds. Even the worker who called 911 said she wasn't threatening.
But she came out at someone with a knife, though, right? Or did she just have it?
Okay. The knife onto the property in her hand.
Okay.
She didn't try and attack anybody or anything.
Police arrived with guns drawn, telling her to put down the knife, but say she wouldn't. They say they even threw a knife to the ground, trying to explain what they wanted her to do. When she kept walking towards them, they shot her with a stun gun. The police chief was there during the incident.
Deployed the taser rather than using deadly force.
He says his officer acted appropriately. Her family says at her age, the shock could have killed her.
She's recovering, still a little shook up, a little sore from what she's, gone through.
And there's one thing we should add about that young man who is speaking out for the family, Robin. He is the nephew of this woman, and he's a former police officer.
Tonight, a New Mexico judge facing threats after granting bail for 5 suspects accused of child abuse on a remote New Mexico compound.
The state alleges that there was a big plan afoot, but the state hasn't shown, to my satisfaction, by clear and convincing evidence, what in fact that plan was.
The judge saying the government failed to articulate any specific threat to public safety. It comes after prosecutors offered disturbing new details about the death of 3-year-old Abdul Wahaj, allegedly kidnapped by his father. The FBI testifying that another child told them the boy died during a religious ritual performed, his body found in a tunnel.
The rituals were to expel demons.
Everyone at the compound prayed to Abdul's body, and the children were told that Abdul would be resurrected and come back as Jesus.
Their alleged goal, according to prosecutors, to get Jesus to direct the children to attack banks and schools. Now this morning, word that one of the suspects, 35-year-old Janie LeVay, is now in the custody of immigration officials.
The Environmental Protection Agency is being urged to take action on toxic chemicals found in some drinking water. The chemicals are known as PFAs, and studies found that these chemicals are more dangerous than previously thought. PFAs are used in anything from carpets and firefighting foam to fast food wrappers. The Trump administration has called the contamination a public relations nightmare. What are the possible health impacts of these chemicals in drinking water?
Well, there's a variety of effects. We're worried about cancer effects. It can interfere with some of the hormones that we have, and there are certain other diseases that have been linked to these toxic chemicals that we're now finding in millions of people's drinking water.
EPA testing from 2013 to 2015 found significant amounts of PFAs in public water in 33 states. How much of the drinking water in the U.S., though, do you think is contaminated? Is this isolated or is this widespread?
Well, we wish it was isolated, but a study that was done by some Harvard University researchers recently found that over 6 million people are served by water systems that have this stuff at levels above what EPA says are safe. And in fact, now it's looking like the EPA numbers are too high, and we should be saying that safe levels are even lower than what EPA originally was saying was okay.
Just when you thought the airport had gone full Orwellian, federal air marshals are now following unsuspecting average U.S. citizens, whether they are suspected of a crime or on a terrorist watch list, monitoring their behavior under yet another domestic surveillance program. The Boston Globe reports the previously undisclosed program, Quiet Skies, relies on 15 rules to screen passengers, according to a May agency bulletin, and the criteria appear broad. Rules may target people whose travel patterns or behaviors match those of known or suspected terrorists or people possibly affiliated with someone on a watch list.
The program has been in existence since 2010. In a statement to CBS News, TSA said in part, quote, "The primary purpose of this program is to ensure passengers and flight crew are protected during air travel. With routine reviews and active management via legal, privacy, and civil rights and liberties offices, it is a practical method of keeping another act of terrorism from occurring at 30,000 feet.
Back in 2015, TSA failed security tests involving fake bombs and weapons by 95%. 67 of 70 tests failed. In 2017, TSA celebrated an 80% failure rate, where 16 out of 17 tests failed. All of these stats culled by beloved mainstream propaganda outlets NBC, ABC, and CBS. Obviously, the TSA is a complete failure and has been the ire of our Bill of Rights for years. And now they want to expand and run a behavior profile on random citizens regardless of the myriad of rights afforded U.S. citizens. Rights they are criminally ignoring. The Quiet Skies checklist asks questions like, was the subject observing the gate? Did they change directions? Did they board last? Did they sleep during the flight? Every single person that has ever flown has done at least one of those things. Once you fit the profile, a team of air marshals boards your flight to watch you, and they are given documents about your identity. We can all thank TSA Administrator David Pekoski for violating our fundamental rights and raising the bar on the TSA's Orwellian nightmare fantasy that is now a reality.